think we talked about this at the end of last week. I think the spring game is always way overblown in terms of its value or the immediate impression. But yeah, Jeff had a great spring. I thought he did a pretty good job today in terms of what he was asked to do. Had a few drops, as did Taylor. Taylor had a few drops that would have kept some drives going, early there. And then we were pretty limited in what we did. But as far as what he needs to do and what he needs to do to, quote, be the guy, he had a very, very good spring.
Right next to him, Mark. Had Charles been playing offense to this extent during practice, this past month, and does anything about just seeing how explosive he can be today do anything to weigh whether or not what side of the ball he ends up on?
Well, yes and no. I mean, he was throughout the spring. He would come to the offense for some one-on-one stuff, some drill work, just to keep that fresh. And for a guy like Charles, I mean, he was out there lining guys up on offense. That's how much he knows our system already. And so that's why we felt comfortable moving him in the beginning is if we needed to flip him back, today happens, So as soon as the teams came out and he was on that team, I knew exactly what was cooking. He was I think the Vegas favorite for MVP there for today.
What'd you think of Braylon coming out today?
Not that we would bet on anything. Sorry.
What'd you think of Braylon today? How do you think he looked?
I have to watch a film. Made a couple plays, obviously, with the ball in his hands, which was encouraging. He had a couple big plays earlier on in some scrimmages against the threes. So today it was a little bit more realistic. But he's a guy that just I think physically everything is there from a knock on wood from a rehabilitation standpoint, and now he just needs to totally cut it loose from a confidence standpoint and from a mental standpoint.
Mark, your center is a new position for you guys. How do you feel like you guys have performed this spring and then today?
It's not a new position for us.
All
We've
right.
usually had a center.
Yes.
But
Replacing Hronis.
we are replacing Hronis. It's been good. It's been competitive. I think it's kind of like when you're talking about playing quarterback, that position's vital. But when you're talking about quarterback, we had 2, 3, 4 guys rotate in there, and it's just going to be a mix and match deal at the end of the day of who are the best chess pieces. And if we have 2 tackles that we feel good about, we can slide whoever, Matt Pearson around, Tyler Johnstone in the mix, all these other guys in the mix. Cameron Hunt had a really good spring at center. And then the other guys I'm going to blank on, of course, right now, Jake Pisarcik and a couple other guys that we've worked in there give us some flexibility.
Mark, can you talk about some of your true freshmen who played today, the defensive end, the quarterback, the cornerback? Can you just say which one of these you feel is legitimately has a chance to play in September?
So say that again, the defensive end, the quarterback, and who was the other one?
Cornerback.
Are you talking about Canton? Is that what we're talking about? Canton had a really good spring as well, and I think about practice 9 or 10 really started cutting it loose. And again, when you first show up, these guys, they don't know where the bathroom is, let alone what the scheme is or what some of the other things they were doing. And you start to get a little bit more comfortable. Same with Ugo, same with Alex Ofadale, Travis. Certainly when you're the quarterback, there's 10 million things going on. And they did a good job of kind of just digging through that and grinding through that. And their best football certainly is ahead of them. And I thought Travis did a really good job this spring of just playing with confidence despite making a million mistakes. We want guys to make a lot of mistakes, and he did a good job of that, making new mistakes.
Any of those guys more likely to play than the others?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Certainly, the skill set, and then Ugo, I forgot to finish the question. Ugo and Canton certainly have flashes of being capable of doing that. Then it's just going to be a matter of depth and everybody else around him and the competition amongst our staff for Charles Nelson and all that other stuff.
Big picture, looking at the team, way in the back. Big picture, looking at the team coming out of spring last year versus coming out of spring this year, what do you notice is one of the biggest differences in the identity of this year's team?
Each team is different. Each team, even if you have returning guys, there's different just confidence levels and voices that come up. But I like our competitiveness. I thought today, that especially defensively, I thought we ran to the ball fairly well, especially at the beginning when a lot of guys were in there. obviously, then there's some big plays pop and a couple trick plays that popped, and so that can be a little bit misleading. But I like our competitiveness. I love our guys. I love our culture. All those things haven't changed, and that's the great part. From now until fall camp, it's theirs. And feel very comfortable in putting it in the hands of some of the leadership that is developed, and then we need to get better between now and fall camp.
Coach, were there any guys that you thought had a really good practice or really good spring practices and then kind of struggled out there today? Anybody else that you would have liked to have seen more out of?
I'd have to watch the film to be able to answer that. They're, again, in a scrimmage situation such as today, a million, if you're the tailback and the fifth string guard is in there and things break down, it doesn't look very pretty. And a lot of those guys had pretty productive springs. I'd have to think about that for a second on the other part of it. Sorry.
Mark, what is your timetable with making a decision about Charles, and how tough of a decision is it when he seems to be valuable kind of both ways?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a matter of the collective bargaining agreement of if he can play 60 minutes, I think is what it'll come out to be. We'll have no timetable on that. I think it'll be obviously based upon depth on both sides of the ball. He has proven that he can, be an immediate microwave situation of jumping in and playing offense, and so hopefully that wakes up a few receivers that need to dial in the details. But he is a fantastic football player. I mean, he's like a little kid out there that's really tough and smart and just loves football.
Mark, over here, what did it mean to you guys to kind of have Marcus back and pay homage to him before he starts his new job?
No, that was cool. That was really cool. It was funny before the draft, a couple weeks before, he was jacked that he could be here for the spring game. And so it's just, again, it pays tribute to both him and this program, this community, the fans. That was like his main goal is, hey, yeah, I talked to my agent. We're going to get the media done at this time, and I'll be back. I'll be back in time for kickoff. And that was again very him, and a great moment, I think, for everybody with not only the video but the tribute there. That was really cool.
Coach, back here, you mentioned a little bit working on the leadership during the camp, and obviously big shoes to fill. We just mentioned with Marcus. Who do you see as those individuals, and have you turned the off season completely over to them, or will it be more of a committee?
The latter part, both. It has to be. We're not going to kill these guys in the off season with a bunch of stuff. They have to do kind of what we want to do from a culture standpoint. It has to be on them, and we put a bunch of guys in positions of leadership or opportunities to lead throughout the spring, and was very encouraged by that. Jeff Locke is a very natural leader. And as I said the other day, it's very important that people respond to him, that they do. Tyler Johnstone is a fantastic leader. Royce Freeman is a guy that does everything right and needs to be more vocal. And then on defense, I think we have some very established leaders in terms of DeForest Buckner, Alex Balducci, Rodney Hardrick. All those guys have done a very good job of that. And so then in the offseason, it's a combination of, they're with the strength coach now for a long time in terms of who's with them the most, and then that's when it comes back to those guys leaning on each other and pulling on each other to do the right thing on and off the field.
Mark, Jaylen Brown had some big catches today, and where does he sort of fit in when Devin Allen comes back? I mean, you're going to have pretty much your full complement of receivers plus Braylon. Is he a factor there too?
I think so. He was a guy that got winded today. He was in on a bunch of plays and was struggling there at the end. But he's a guy that again came in as a mid-year guy and just thrown into the fire, and the light has come on for him. And so that's been very encouraging. He's a physical guy, really strong hands, loves to compete, and just kind of again is a kind of a quiet worker that goes about his business.
Mark, in the back here. With Charles, does having a new quarterback play any factor in that and wanting to give your quarterback as many weapons as possible?
We like to have weapons, whoever the quarterback is. I think that you're just more multidimensional, if that's a phrase. Being able to have a guy that can line up. He could literally line up at every position on offense except tight end. He could probably play tight end actually, but he knows the system that well. And then you combine that with a bunch of other versatile guys, whether it's Royce or Thomas or some of these other guys that can play multiple positions.
So with the production of Carrington, Brown, Addison, does that kind of help your decision to maybe send Charles to defense?
Sure, I think certainly that's part of it. And then again, kind of as we talked about, his intelligence allows you to kind of experiment with him and then not miss a beat if he comes back to offense long term. And then also I think again it's going to create some good competition in the offseason between the corners and the receivers, or the DBs and the receivers know that, hey, this guy can do a lot of things, and that filters down to somebody. So it's a good competitive situation. You've exceeded your limit. What's that?
Does he have a preference, do you think?
Not at all. He's there's guys that you talk to about playing a position or hey, let's consider this, and he just loves ball. He loves. I mean, he's probably running out to the track right now, go play baseball, go paddle in the river or something. He just is always doing something. Fantastic, again, scout team guy. When we're out there doing special teams, he just loves competing, loves football. Andrew's going to make a Pacquiao-Mayweather prediction.
No. Pelham mentioned that Henry Mondu was a guy who he felt was hands down the most consistent on defense. Offensively, do you have a guy you would single out in that way as from practice 1 to practice 15?
Hands out most consistent. I'd probably have to say Royce. Royce is another guy that's just a fantastic practice player, fantastic worker, and he's a guy that, a la Hronis or Marcus, these guys that have a lot of credibility but are kind of quiet as younger players. He really needs to develop into that role, and he's coming out of his shell a little bit, and just looks the part, has that credibility. Obviously, has produced on the field, produces in the classroom, and just a guy that you'd like to have 100 of. All right, thank you.